Today, on episode 30 of the Fit Stoic podcast, show yourself by the consistency of your choices. Today we're going to look at authenticity, how we can improve our self-honesty when we look at our own behavior, and what I mean exactly when I use the word choice. All right, welcome to the show. I'm Corey Samuelson. Of all the chapters that I've read to date, I believe this one is the shortest. It is just 4 sentences long. So let's just get right into it. The title is Show Yourself. Begin quote. Be authentic, especially in public. Show yourself who you are by showing others. Then they'll believe you. More importantly, you'll believe yourself. End quote. The last line there, more importantly, you'll believe yourself, I think is the key to this chapter. When we judge ourselves, we look at and we reference what we intend to do, our intentions. So if we make mistakes or we do something that turns out a little bit less than ideal, then we say, well, that's not what I intended. I had good intentions. The thing is that when we judge others, all we have to judge them is what they do and what they say about what they do. We tend to be a little bit more skeptical when we are hearing what somebody else is claiming to be their intention. So we can't read their mind. So all we can do is listen to what they say, see what they have done or what they are doing, and then we draw our conclusions. When we look at our own behavior, however, we do know what we are thinking. So we hold ourselves to a different standard. I believe that we can be much more honest by looking to our own action so that we judge ourselves by the same standards that we judge others. Much more honest to judge ourselves by our actions as well. So then we've got the same standard. No more trying to rationalize why things didn't turn out. If I hold the standard for myself of being a good friend, yet I'm aware that I haven't called a friend of mine for many, many months, is that what a good friend does? Perhaps. Depends what your standards are. But for me, I actually don't think that I'm being a good friend at this point. We live in different provinces, so because of the current pandemic situation and whatnot, I won't visit as often as I used to. But I also haven't been phoning or talking or reaching out, texting, emailing. So if I look at my behavior as someone else would have to, from that third-party perspective, I'm actually not being a good friend at this point. So even though that standard is there in my thinking, in that intention that I hold for myself to be a good friend, I'm dropping the ball here. So what could I do? Well, I can actually do the things that a good friend would do. Perhaps right after this podcast recording is over, I'm going to go and pick up the phone and give a call. And the same goes for any behavior that I would have for myself, or what I'm suggesting is for any behavior that you have for yourself. So if health and fitness is something that you want to improve, that you want to make a little bit better in your life, don't look at the intention to do it, because it's actually really easy to hold an intention. It's like, yeah, I'd like to do that. I would prefer it if I were healthier. The difference being that holding an intention and actually acting on it, there is a difference. There's a gap there. Now, we can't choose our results, so even acting on the intention of being healthy may not result in being healthy. The behaviors, though, that lead to health, those you can choose to enact. And that's the key. From a Stoic strength perspective, the success of the methodology is not in achieving or in creating the results themselves, because that makes the experience of success dependent on what is beyond our choice. Instead, for the Stoic strength athlete, success occurs in the moment of choice. And I mean something very specific by choice. It's not merely a mental occurrence. It begins with a thought. But if that's where it ends, and this is where I'm saying let's be more objective and hold ourselves to a higher standard as we do hold others to a higher standard. It's not just the intention that counts. If we're really going to live up to what we intend and to a standard of excellence that we want to hold ourselves to, then we must act. And so when I use the word choice, I actually think of it as enacted choice. So nothing is actually chosen until something moves. So until I pick up the phone and dial my friend, I'm actually not being a good friend. I have the intention, and I can carry that intention for years and years and years. I want to be a good friend. I am a good friend because I'm thinking about being a good friend. That's a bit of a cop-out. So much better to enact that choice. Anytime that you hear me use the word choice, I mean an enacted choice, an embodied choice, a choice that's actually being acted on, a choice that someone else can observe and see being put into practice. By holding yourself to the standard of enacted choice, it makes it very simple to see where you are falling short in the experiences that you want to create for yourself in life. So if you want to improve your health and your fitness, if you want to burn a little bit more fat, you want to get a little bit more lean, if you want to lose some weight, for example, the intention is one thing. That's where it starts. But you have to take that next step. You have to enact that choice. And you do that at whatever level you can to start with. So it doesn't mean running a marathon necessarily. It doesn't mean lifting a certain amount of weight. It doesn't mean even working out for a certain length of time. But there has to be some movement that lives that intention, and then see what the results are from that. Because again, you can't choose your results. You can merely choose what you choose to do or what you intend to do. Because even the body itself will have its own response to what we decide. So my intention is to be clear here, to have understanding on the part of you, the listener. Ultimately, I can't control whether or not you get what I'm trying to say here. I'll do my very best, and I am doing my very best. That's why I kind of blather on so long sometimes. Whether or not you understand it, out of my hands. Whether or not you act on what you understand, that too is out of my hands. But I continue to record these episodes. I continue to spread my message the best of my ability. And I continue trying to hone the craft of spreading that message because I think it's important. If even one more person acts with virtuous self-control in the moment of choice, the world is a better place. That is what I believe. And today's chapter is being the person that you want to be, not just privately, not just in your own mind, not just thinking about it, living it. And when you live it in a way that other people see it as well, disregarding whether or not you are getting praise for that. That's nice to get. Might be a preferred response from other people, and it helps us feel good sometimes. But on the other hand, regardless of, we are getting criticism. If you have decided that you are doing the right thing for yourself, that's what counts. And that example of excellence, of living with virtuous self-control, with that self-control and that excellence as a standard in your own life, that's a good thing. Because now you are an example to those around you, maybe to your family, maybe to your friends, your coworkers, whatever it happens to be. So when you make a choice, and remember what I mean by that is you make an enacted choice. You actually embody it. You take action on it, on that intention. When you make a choice and you live it, you are making the world a better place. So you're taking that intention out of just merely thinking about it, and you're making it real. You're realizing it. And that is a good thing. Here's that quote by Seneca that I was mentioning. Very appropriate for this one today. Begin quote. Prove your words by your deeds. Philosophy teaches us to act, not to speak. It exacts of every man that he should live according to his own standards, that his life should not be out of harmony with his words, and that, further, his inner life should be of one hue and not out of harmony with all of his activities. This, I say, is the highest duty and the highest proof of wisdom, that deed and word should be in accord, that a man should be equal to himself under all conditions and always the same. End quote. That is from Letters, and it was the 20th letter. What I really like about that quote is that he's saying we should be of one hue, that we should be the same in any circumstance. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to act the same whether you're with your family or whether you're with your coworkers. That is not the sameness that he is referring to. It's the consistency of the standard of excellence that you hold for yourself. That's the way that I interpret it. Now, someone else may have a different opinion on this, and that's okay. But obviously, we can't be acting the same because people require different actions from us. A friend requires a different set of behaviors from us as opposed to our spouse or our child or somebody that we don't know, that's a complete stranger, but that we happen to meet. We are not going to act the same because those contexts are different. What is going to be the same, and what Seneca is referring to as being of one hue, is the standard of excellence for our own behavior. So if I'm on the right track with what I think Seneca means by equal to himself in all conditions or under all conditions, and of one hue and in harmony with himself, regardless of the activities, and always the same, that what he means by that is the standard of excellence. So that regardless of receiving criticism or receiving praise or of feeling, vibrantly healthy or feeling ill, feeling excited by something emotionally or feeling dejected and down, that the standards of the behavior remain the same. That makes sense to me. But to act consistently, regardless of the context, well, that seems pretty silly on the face of it, because Every context requires slightly different or vastly different responses from us. But if our standard of excellence remains consistent, then it won't matter if we are with people who might consider what we consider excellent to be a problem. So they can't shame us to do something different, regardless of what the circumstances are, regardless of what other people think, whether they're supporting you or trying to manipulate you to do something different. If you can be consistent, if you can be the same person as far as your standards of excellence are concerned, I think that is what Seneca is referring to. And that ties into the chapter that I read from the Gymchiridion. Show other people who you are. Show yourself. Because if you can be authentic in public, under the scrutiny and the criticism of others, then you are much more likely to keep that standard, regardless of what's going on. Under that public pressure, whether it is actually pressure that you are creating in your own experience or not, there might even be actual public pressure, like actual criticism and actual harsh criticism. Regardless of that, when you show others who you are showing yourself as well, especially when you can maintain your excellence in the face of that harsh criticism. When you can maintain that standard of excellence for yourself in public, and where the public criticism and the scrutiny may be at its highest pitch, then not only will they believe who you are, even if they disagree with you, they will believe who you are. And more importantly, in the face of that scrutiny and that perhaps criticism, you will believe yourself. Because you will know that you are one person, meaning you hold the same standards regardless of the circumstances or what other people think. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Fit Stoic Podcast. If you like what you heard, please do share it with someone that you believe might like it too. This is Corey. Whatever your path, operate with excellence.